Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings a tune without words and never stops at all. Emily Dickinson. As simple as a feather may seem, they are amazingly complex. Coming in an array of color, patterns, shapes, and sizes, they are responsible for lifting a bird off the ground. Every one of you has seen or heard birds. As a child, you may have been intrigued by the brilliant blue feather you found laying on the ground. Your parents probably yelled, "Don't touch that, they carry diseases." In part, they are correct. However, for people who value birds, feathers are incredible and provide a great opportunity for experiencing a personal connection with nature and the life around us. Today we will examine the types of feathers, the formation of colors in feathers, and how they help birds fly. There are several types of feathers, each one serving a different yet key purpose. First, let me explain the basic parts of a feather. Starting from the bottom of the feather is the calamus, which is the unpigmented part that lies beneath the skin. Extending up from the calamus is the rachis, the central pigmented shaft of the feather above the skin. Branching off from the rachis are structures called barbs. These barbs then branch into barbels with small hooks that interlock with nearby barbels. A 2016 article from Jake's Nature blog written by Dannenhauer compares the hooks and barbels to Velcro, since there are two sides that when connected stick to one another. Now that you know the basic parts, let's talk about the first type of feather, wing feather. A 2013 article by Thompson, an author, educator, and biologist, explains that wing feathers, which are windproof, are specialized for flight. Moving on, we have the tail feather, which is structurally the same except that they are located at the end of a bird's body. Contour feathers are what you see covering the bird's body and are arranged like shingles in an overlapping pattern. They are waterproof at the tips and insulating at the bases. Semi-plume are usually hidden beneath the other feathers and provide insulation. Unlike the contour feathers, they do not have hooks on the barbels. The short down feathers don't have a central rachis and provide insulation. Phyloplumes are located between the contours and function like mammal whiskers to sense the position of the contour feathers. Bristles, the simplest type of feathers, usually lack barbed branches and are mostly found on the head. They protect the bird's eyes and face. Feathers are as diverse in color as they are in types, and the formation of the colors varies from bird to bird. According to a 2015 article by Thompson, the Director of Engagement in Science and Nature at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, there are two different ways in which the colors are formed in feathers. One way color is formed is through pigmentation. Pigmentation is where the color is produced independently of the structures of the feathers. Pigments absorb some wavelengths of light and reflect others. It is the reflected light that reaches our eyes. Pigment coloration in birds comes from three different groups. Carotenoids are generally yellow, orange, and red in color. They are produced by plants, and birds acquire them by eating plants or by eating something that has eaten a plant. Melanins are brown to black pigment that occur as tiny granules of color in both the skin and feathers of birds. Feathers that contain melanin are stronger and more resistant to wear than feathers without melanin. Porphyrins are red and green pigments that can also include pink and brown pigments. They are produced by cells in the feather follicle and modifying amino acids. Adding to the diversity of avian colors are colors produced by the structure of the feather, called structural colors. Instead of pigments, these colors are produced as light is refracted by the proteins in the feather. Iridescent colors are the result of the refraction of incident light caused by the microscopic structure of the feather barbels. The refraction works like a prism, splitting the light into rich component colors. As the viewing angle changes, the refracted light becomes visible in a glowing, shimmering, iridescent display. Non-iridescent colors result when tiny air pockets in the barbs of feathers can scatter incoming light. According to a 1998 article by Paul Ehrlich, an American biologist, because structural colors are not produced by pigments, if the feather is between the light source and the observer, the color will disappear. Feather structures can also reflect ultraviolet light, which humans cannot see, but other birds can. Because of this, birds can appear quite different to each other than they do to us. Not only do feathers make birds look beautiful, they give birds an ability that most other creatures do not have: flight. Feathers are essential for a bird to fly, and each type of feather serves a purpose in allowing them to do so. There are 4 forces of flight that affect the flight of birds: lift, thrust, weight, and drag. In order for a bird to get off the ground, they must obtain lift and thrust, and overcome weight and drag. Lift and weight are forces that influence how high the bird is in the air. The faster flowing air over the top of the wing reduces air pressure, therefore producing lift and keeping the bird in the air. The feathers help to reduce the downward forces of weight due to gravity as well as drag, which I will explain to you next. Thrust and drag are forces that influence the speed the bird is going. Birds obtain thrust forward motion by using the strong muscles and flapping their wings. The force working against thrust is called drag. It is caused by air resistance and acts in the opposite direction to the motion. An interesting fact as stated by the Science Learning Hub in 2011 is that a feather has as much air as matter due to the many spaces between the barbs. Now that you understand the four forces of flight and how they affect the flight abilities of birds, let's discuss flight feathers and their impact on the four forces. Primary feathers are the largest of the flight feathers and propel the bird through the air, therefore providing thrust. If these flight feathers are damaged or lost, a bird cannot fly. Secondary feathers run along the arm of the wing and sustain the bird in the air, giving it lift. Experiments have shown that if half of the secondaries are removed, a bird will still be able to fly, but some control will be lost. Tertiary or tertial feathers are short, innermost flight feathers on the rear edge of a wing. They are not as important for flight as the primary and secondary feathers. Rectrices, or the tail feathers, help with the bird's stability and control. They are used as a rudder, helping to steer and balance the bird and allow the bird to twist and turn in flight. They also act as a brake for landing. Coverts are the rows of feathers bordering and overlaying the edges of the flight feathers and rectrices. These help streamline the shape of the wings and tail, minimizing drag, while providing the bird with insulation. The alveolar feathers located at the front edge of the wing helps increase lift. Today I discussed the types of feathers, how colors are formed, and their ability to give birds flight. For people who value birds, feathers are incredible and provide a great opportunity for experiencing a personal connection with nature and the life around us. The next time you look at a bird, you will be able to better understand how its feathers function and make it possible for the birds to fly. Down to the microscopic level, you can value the complexity and specialization that make birds such a unique part of the animal kingdom. Indeed, you can find the beauty in birds.